Senator Paul, great to have you with us as always. So how is this going? And is this, what's your measure? Is this sort of show and then we're going to hear that they couldn't really do that much? Or is this actually going to happen? Is there seriousness on the part of members of Congress to cut at least $1 trillion?
There's definitely serious on the part of the public. And where Vivek and Elon Musk bring power is by drawing attention to this. I think they'll also be able to do things by executive action within the administration, like no longer hiring people, having a hiring freeze, having people work in person. I know that sounds really harsh, but making people show up for their jobs. All those things can be done by executive action. Repealing regulations can be done by executive action. Repealing regulations can come by rewriting regulations and having us vote to repeal the new regulations as well. There's all kinds of good things that can happen. On the spending front, there's a way that the executive branch can do something called rescission. So if we send $1 billion over there to build a ship and the government builds it for $800 million, they have $200 million left over, they can do what's called rescission, send it back to Congress. It gets a simple vote, a simple majority, a privileged vote, and if all the Republicans will stick together, we can cut hundreds of billions of dollars of spending. Can we get to $2 trillion?
Yeah.
That may be optimistic, but I'm all for getting there because that actually equals the deficit. Our deficit each year is $2 trillion.
Absolutely. And there is clearly that much that is wasted in government programs. They never go backwards. They only get bigger budgets every single year. They never have to go to the same standard that the rest of us do to find places to carve out savings. I want to play this from Joe Scarborough today, because this is the mentality that you're going to hear, I think, from a lot of members who are very reliant on the spending, the lobbyists, the pharmaceutical companies, the people who give them a lot of money for their campaigns. Watch this.
The United States government has already spent 80% of its budget on Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, vets, defense, and interest on the debt. This is a scam unless they're going to slash Social Security and Medicare and and Veterans Affairs. They're never going to get to $2 trillion.
Can't be done. Can't be done, Senator. What do you say?
Oh, poor Joe Scarborough. I remember when he was a conservative. When he was a conservative Republican, he actually voted against expanding Medicare into Medicare Part D, this extra part to make Medicare bigger because he thought it might bankrupt the country. Yep. So there was a time when he actually was a thoughtful person, but no longer. Now, there is a sliver of a truth in the sense that, yes, entitlements are a lot of the spending, but to say entitlements are a lot of the spending, therefore we're not going to look at waste, is the excuse we hear all the time. Oh, we're not going to look at this spending because if you get rid of all waste, it won't balance the budget. Well, why don't we start by getting rid of the $750,000 that was spent feeding cocaine to Japanese quail to see if they were more sexually promiscuous on cocaine. Maybe Joe would agree with getting at least that, get rid of that.
Unbelievable. Yeah, and the idea that these programs can't have a little bit of analysis, where you find some waste in them. If every agency had the responsibility to say, okay, show us what you have. Show us what you can get rid of that isn't going to, cut to the bone and people will still get the benefits that were promised to them. Show us where there's fraud and find some ways to save some money. I can't have you on without getting your reaction to this. This is from Politico. This came out yesterday, I believe. Biden White House discussing preemptive pardons for those in Trump's crosshairs. And it says those who could face exposure include such members of Congress as Jan 6 Committee Senator-elect Adam Schiff, GOP Rep Liz Cheney, also mentioned by Biden aides, is a pardon for Anthony Fauci, the former head of the NIAID, who became a lightning rod for criticism during COVID. Now, we're told that the president isn't part of this formulation, that it's coming from staffers, and that these individuals, as far as we know, have not asked for a pardon. But what's your take on the fact that this is under discussion?
I think it's a real possibility that Anthony Fauci could get a pardon. He is at risk. I've referred him twice to the Department of Justice. The Biden administration has ignored it. But we have a great deal of evidence that he lied to Congress, which is a felony punishable by 5 years. The proof that we have that he's lying is from his own emails. So we have his private emails gotten by court order, and they contradict what he was saying publicly in a way such that I think we could prove that he has lied to Congress, which is a felony. As far as other pardons, I fully suspect the president will pardon his brother coming up too. He's protecting Hunter, who has a criminal record, a long and storied criminal record, taking $80,000 a year from a large business in Ukraine. I think also there will be a consideration of whether or not President Biden may want to pardon himself as well. So I think the Biden syndicate of making money did act illegally, and who knows, maybe the president will even pardon himself.
All right. So just real quick, a preemptive pardon before any charges have been brought. You expect that to happen for Anthony Fauci?
After seeing what they did with Hunter Biden, who has a host of convictions, a host of wrongdoing, and they gave him a pardon, not just on what he's been accused of anything he may be accused of over a 10-year period. It's just like the plea
deal that the judge laughed at. It's essentially the same time period. Senator, always great to have you with us. And we look forward to seeing what DOJ can do and how the members of the House and Senate handle having these big outsiders sort of tell them how to tighten their belts. We'll see. Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.